every language has its own set of rules. English has its rules, and French has its rules, and German has its rules, and all languages have their own rules. And if you want to tell something to someone in their language, then you need to make sure that you follow the grammatical rules of that language properly, and you know some vocabulary, right? And that is what syntax is. So when you're writing something in Python, what you want to do is that you want to follow the syntax of Python. When you're programming, what you're actually doing is that you have this algorithm in your head. An algorithm is nothing but a series of steps. For example, the multiplication algorithm. How do you multiply 593 times 9? There's a series of steps that you follow. First multiply 5 into 9, and then add 2 zeros in front of it. Then multiply 9 by 9, and then add a 0 in front of it, and then 3 by 9, and then add nothing in front of it, and add all these things, and then you get the answer, and that's 593 times 9. If you follow this step, you always get an answer, and that's the multiplication algorithm. Now, you need to know all the steps. That's the first thing. Then you need to write them down, and then you need to tell that to Python. So you need to use Python syntax, and you need to communicate that algorithm to Python. Now Python knows that when it will get two numbers, it's supposed to multiply the first number by the second number using these steps. But if you don't know these steps, you'll never be able to get a functional code running. Python will never compile anything, because even though you follow the syntax, it's logically incorrect. Maybe it will give you an answer, but it will not be the right answer because the logic is wrong. So computer is your best friend. As long as you give him all the conditions, give it all the conditions, follow its syntax, take its limitations into account, like how much memory it has and how many calculations it can do at the same time, your program will never crash. And that's the difference between a good programmer and a bad programmer. A bad program does not understand the syntax, or he does not understand the limitations of the program, or his code is just not efficient, and his algorithm is not good enough. And a good programmer takes all this into account and writes a beautiful piece of code that runs like butter. So we're really, really fortunate to be born in this world where Python is real, where we have a language that's so similar to English. Another thing that's really, really awesome about this language is the huge community that contributes to it. So when we talk about Python, there are these, I think it's a couple million programmers that use Python. So there are like thousands and thousands of people that tell people that they have created this code that they can use. So it's open source. You can grab someone's code, you can add that to your Python 3.6 folder, and then when you're writing some code, all you need to do is write two words, import, and the name of that module. And you can use that whole piece of code in your code. So for example, I do not want to, I told you how you have to write the multiplication algorithm, right? If you want to multiply something. In Python, that's built in. You can just put the multiplication symbol and it will do it for you. You do not have to define the multiplication algorithm every time. You don't have to define the division, addition, subtraction algorithm ever. And if you import math, just write import math. Almost every single mathematical function will be imported right there. So like addition is a function, multiplication is a function. Same way trigonometric functions. So just write sine, and then inside the parenthesis you just put in something, and it will just give you the answer of sine. What is sine of that? Because someone that was really smart sat down and wrote this huge piece of code called the math module, and inside he defined all these things so that the computer can just take an input and give us an output. So now we don't have to do all of that as programmers, but if you were writing something in C, if you were writing something in a lower level language, we'd have to do all of this. So programming could get very, very difficult if we were doing it on a lower level language, but it gets really convenient when you're doing it on something like Python. So what matters over here is how good the algorithm you're writing is, how efficient your code is, how many error conditions it can take, so that you can't break the code. You know, that's what good Python program is. You don't have to worry about syntax that much over here because it's mostly English. What else is great about this language? Well, I love it, and all of the scientific research nowadays is happening in this. It's really it's creating some major disruption in programming. Almost every company uses Python. There's like almost no exception in the big IT companies. You'll hardly find a company that doesn't use Python somewhere. And definitely if you're doing some research, Python's always there somewhere. C is the foundation language of Python. That's what it's built on. And if you want your code to be extra efficient, you can like put in some C code to make things run a little faster. So yeah, overall a great language, and it's going to be great for us to learn this together. By the end of this, you're going to be able to write any program you want. You might even get a job. You can do any research, graphical user interface, knowing how to manage data, maybe even artificial intelligence. We'll see how far we want to take this. It depends on how involved you guys are, how much you like it. But I'm pretty sure you guys are going to love this. This is a course I developed because I wanted this to be developed when I was learning how to program. It was really hard for me. So I wanted someone to really dumb it down, make it really good. Definitely going to be a lot of fun. So for this program, we'll be using PyCharm. Now what PyCharm is, I don't want to call it an interpreter, but for now, let's just call it an application, right? It's an application where you can write in your code, and inside this application, you can run the code. So it's like building a car and being able to test the car and its components inside the same room you're building the car, which is insane, but it's really, really helpful. And pretty much all interpreters, all applications where you can write code do that. But like the best part is the code runs inside it. So you just press this play button thing and it just runs over there, like right under the code you're writing. So you can, it doesn't open up some new window and it doesn't load up. It's like super fast. So that's why we're going to be using PyCharm. I'm going to be putting the download link to this in the description. Just go online, just look up how to install PyCharm. I might make a video if too many of you guys get confused. But yeah, it's really, really easy. I'll just give you a quick tour of what PyCharm is like once you install it. Let's go to File, let's go to New, File, New Project. So it's going to say, where do you want this project to be saved? Well, first I use a Macintosh, right? So over here, the first thing is, you know how you arrange things inside your desktop by making directories? Directories is the formal term. We guys use folders as an informal term. So directories have more directories, like folders have more folders, and they have more folders. And at the end, you might have like a text file or a CSV file or a PowerPoint or a Python file or something like that, right? Or some C code, anything. So the first directory in my Mac that is accessible by me is called users. Inside users, there's my name, Nakul Goyal. Inside Nakul Goyal, I have made this thing called desktop. And inside desktop, I can create this project. Now, what do I want to name this project? Anything. So let's say sample. And it just gets created. It's pretty easy, right? But when you download PyCharm, you have to make sure that you also have Python 3.6 installed inside your computer. Make sure that you have Python 3.6. I'll put the link to download Python 3.6 as well. If a lot of people have trouble with that, I'll make a video on that as well. But you'll be able to find that online pretty easily. So what happens is that what PyCharm has done for me, on desktop, it has made a folder called sample. And is a directory, and in that directory there is another folder called venv, V-E-N-V, and inside V-E-N-V we have three folders. One is called bin, one is called include, and one is called library. Now library is the one that has Python 3.6 in it. Bin has a lot of like stuff that we don't want to get into right now, but we'll get into later. And then there is this thing called pyvenv.cfg. So right now, ignore all of that. But for you, PyCharm has created this folder in your desktop if you follow the same path I followed, like approximately. So what I want to do is, I don't want to make a Python file inside the folders. I want to make it inside venv. So in venv, I create a Python file. So it will be a .py file. So a text file is usually .txt, so like knuckle.txt would be a text file. So a Python file, the kind is Python file, and the name would be sample1, okay? So what happens is that Python creates this beautiful environment for me to program in, PyCharm does, and I can write some really, really nice code in it. So define addition, taken two inputs, num1, num2. What you want to do is there will be a result which will be equal to num1 plus num2, and then just print the result, and that's it. And then I call the function addition, and I give it two inputs, 1 and 2, and then I run this, and voila. So that's how I just wrote a code, and then I executed the code, and then I could see that the result was printed because it followed the instructions I gave it. So it's a really, really convenient thing. Of course, I don't expect any of you guys to understand what I just did, but if you do, pretty good. Yeah, so that's just PyCharm, an introduction to programming, an introduction to Python, and why it's so amazing. And by the end of this, guys, you will be able to do pretty much anything. You will be able to get a job. Like there will be nothing you don't know. And I'm doing this because I wish someone did this for me. So I hope I'll see you guys in the next video. Install PyCharm, install Python 3.6 or Python 3.7. Make sure that when you're creating something in PyCharm, you do not make this mistake. So I'm going to show you what mistake you might make. Go to new project, sample 2, let's say, and the project interpreter, right? So the base interpreter is Python 3.6 for me. It's not Python 2.7. So make sure that your interpreter is Python 3.6, because Python 3.6 and Python 2 have different syntax, and if the syntax is different, it's just going to tell you that your code is wrong, and that's what happened with me for a long period of time. I was trying to learn it online, and this kept telling me that my code was wrong, and I didn't know that I had to install Python 3.6 and then set that as my main interpreter, right? So new environment using virtual env, base interpreter is this, that's it, and just press create and you're done. So see you in the next video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day or a good night. Bye bye.